Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. These are just some of the many different social media outlets we use almost every day. It connects everyone so that we can know everything about each other in almost seconds. Someone in China can talk to someone across the world in Canada in almost no time at all. It is an incredible invention, and when used correctly, it can link everyone together. Today, we are seeing a world in which people are now using social media and are relying on it more than ever. From personal relationships to promoting and doing business, we cannot imagine the world without it. Social media is and will continue to change how people communicate and interact with each other all over the world. Adam Galazi, an associate professor of neurology and physiology at the University of California, San Francisco, talks about how personality types play a part in the reliance on social media. He also explains that the more people use social media, the more they tend to be poor multitaskers.
Recently, and there's a ton of there's so much rich data in how people differ from each other. One thing that we see is that if you look at a population, does not work from our own lab, but work out of Stanford, if you look at a population of college students, there's very large differences in those that use media in this way and those that do not at all. The follow-up to that study was to look at that diversity and how people use their media and how they multitask, and then take them into the lab and do a series of cognitive tests and see how they perform on them. And what they found in that study was that the individuals that are the heavy media multitaskers tend to do worse on the type of cognitive abilities related to multitasking, like distractibility and switching, which is really interesting. Another chicken and egg problem, whether or not that's causing it, or do people that interact with the environment like that tend to multitask. But there are some really interesting differences, and we're just beginning to understand them now.
Gary Vaynerchuk, an author and TV host, talks to CNN Money about how Facebook is being used more for business rather than personal relationships.
Standpoint, I think Facebook pages are very interesting. I think, Twitter is a great platform. It's quick. It's got a lot of value. But what Facebook pages allows, and, under the VaynerMedia umbrella that I live with my brother, and we do a lot of consulting and strategy for brands, it has a lot of flexibility. I mean, you could build a website on top of a Facebook page. I firmly believe that customers are more comfortable with a Facebook URL. So if you are a Pepsi or a Ford or the National Hockey League, when you're running a commercial or using traditional media and layering social on top of it, Facebook.com/NHL is something consumers are a little bit more comfortable to go to. Plus, you can, do a lot of things on that platform to interact their social graph. So I would say that Facebook pages, in a lot of ways, for businesses is the most necessity-driven page, because you can actually do a lot of things. You can code on top of it. And so, yeah, I think it's a necessity.
To continue on a separate note, Gary says that although people want to quit Facebook, it is incredibly difficult to do so for one big reason.
I had a bunch of friends, when the whole privacy thing broke, tell me that they were going to quit Facebook. They're like, Gary, you're into that stuff, right? They were kind of telling me, these are like normal friends, outside baseball, right? And I was like, yeah. And they're like, I got to tell you something, because maybe you can make one of those silly videos. I went to go quit Facebook, and on the last page, it showed a picture of like my wife and my best friend and my uncle, and they said, see ya, we're sad you're leaving, but oh, by the way, before you leave, before you hit that last button and you're leaving Facebook, we just want you to know that Grandma Ann and your best friend John and your wife Sally are gonna miss you.
Yeah, like they photoshopped a tear on there.
Yeah. And they couldn't. Two separate friends who don't know each other, because of the whole privacy thing 6 months ago, both let me know that they did not quit Facebook. And once you map that social graph, there's a lot of interesting things that go on. So I think they're a beast.
Columnist and author Paul Sarr discusses the impact Facebook has on relationships and how they are making them less meaningful because we never really interact with our friends.
Never had the idea of ever losing touch with old friends. Like, to them, it is synonymous with their social graph. And in fact, there are a lot of friends who they've never met. And that's what to me is slightly strange about Facebook, and is potentially really interesting, but potentially really damaging to social relationships, is this idea that, oh, because I've like poked them on Facebook this week, I've had my interaction quota with them. And you never lose touch with anyone, that's great. But actually, as someone who did use Facebook to find a bunch of old friends, I suddenly didn't actually have that much in common with most of them, like having not seen them since school. But on Facebook, it almost doesn't matter. As long as they're there, and as long as their picture pops up every so often and I click or see a picture of them, I feel like, oh, I know them. And I worry that we're going to end up with fewer real, meaningful relationships.
Even retired athletes use social media. Former NBA stars Steve Kerr, Shaquille O'Neal, and Reggie Miller all explain why they use Twitter.
Twitter guy, I mean, I tweet occasionally, but what I like about it is when people put links to interesting articles. If I ever read something really interesting, I'll usually add the link, and so it's a great way just to get news.
60% of the time I like to make people laugh. 30% of the time I like to inspire people, and the other 10% I'm selling products. Like my book.
Like a live tweet. Wow.
To me, it's more business related. It's all because when Steve and I are covering games, we get the best seats in the house. So when you get a chance to take pictures, and for instance, being part of the Hall of Fame ceremony and stuff, that's what Twitter was great, because I got a chance to take pictures of so many players that I grew up basically watching. To me, to get that out to so many people, that's, to me, I thought what Twitter was all about, not to say I'm going to the grocery store and things like that.
In an interview from a few years ago, Mark Zuckerberg explained why he created Facebook.
It wasn't to make a huge community site. It was to make something where you could type in someone's name and find out a bunch of information about them.
Many things have changed for Mark since his one small website has become one of the most popular websites in the entire world.
I'm typing a paper. I can't type another page until I check my Facebook sometimes. I mean, it's sad. It really is.
The only reason I joined the Facebook was to see who my boyfriend cheated on me with. And then I got hooked on it, so now I'm on the Facebook all the time, and I have like random people like request me to be their friend.
When asked if Facebook had taken over his life, Mark Zuckerberg explained that it hadn't yet for a couple of reasons.
I mean, I spend a lot of my time at the office, and then I have a studio apartment a couple of blocks away where it's just my bed and like a table and a chair and a teapot, and I don't even have internet access in my apartment. So I don't know, I'm pretty like isolated from it whenever I need to be. Either that or the fact that I'm too lazy to get internet access.